All right, I know some of you are in this course exactly to hear about Xenobots, so thank you for your patience. We kind of already talked about them before, but let's do this properly by going back to the beginning. 20 years ago when I was a postdoc, I worked on the evil starfish and published this paper about pulling the legs off robots and exploring ways in which machines can handle external surprise. Meanwhile, two biologists at Tufts University, Doug Blackiston and Mike Levin, were doing similar things with tadpoles. You're looking at a very early frog tadpole here. Instead of pulling body parts off of tadpoles, they were doing ectopic surgery, which is a fancy word for take one part of a developing organism, pull it off that part of the organism, and put that piece back on a different part of the developing organism. In this particular ectopic surgery that you're seeing here, this was work done by Doug Blackiston, a very talented microsurgeon. This is a tadpole doing things under the microscope. He was able to isolate from frog egg, from very, very early frog embryo, a particular type of stem cell known as eye precursor cells. As the name implies, these are stem cells that are destined to become some part of the eye. They haven't differentiated enough yet into retina and optic nerve and cornea and all the rest. They're basically like eye-making machines. Where do you think you tend to find eye precursor cells in a non-messed with frog embryo? It's not a trick question. On the part of the embryo where the eyes are actually going to develop. Okay, Doug has very, very steady hands. He found those particular types of stem cells in the egg, extracted them, and allowed that frog egg to continue growing into a tadpole, which you see here. One other change that they made, this is not ectopic surgery, is they genetically blinded this frog embryo. They introduced a particular set of genes which ensures that eyes actually won't develop where they are normally meant to develop. We've touched on a lot of topics in this class that are kind of morally ambiguous that some people have a problem with. Obviously, this is potentially one of them. We're dealing with animal use experiments in this lecture. You come to your own decisions about whether this experiment or this gain in knowledge was worth it. Okay, so we have a genetically blinded tadpole, which is guaranteed not to grow eyes in the normal place, which you can see at this point in the tadpole development. Shortly before the tadpole got to this stage of development, Doug injected the eye precursor cells that he had collected from the egg, and what's happening at this moment of development in this tadpole. You don't have to be a frog expert to figure it out.
It's growing eyes on its tail.
It's growing eyes on its tail. So what is this black dot here? It's not an arbitrary piece of tissue. It's not a cancerous tumor. It's what an eye more or less looks like in a tadpole at this stage of development, except here. Now it's here. What do you think happened as this tadpole continued to grow into an adult frog? I'm already giving you half the punchline. This tadpole grew into a perfectly healthy, I was going to say healthy and happy. I don't know about happy, but healthy adult frog.
Oh, it had an eye on its tail?
It had an eye on its butt, because adult frogs don't have tails. God bless biology. Okay. This was a healthy frog that had no eyes on the front. It had an eye on its butt. And they came in with a little wand with a dead fly on the end of the wand near the frog. What do you think the frog did? Best part of the experiment, in my opinion.
Did it hop backwards?
No, this is a fly. You don't want to hop away from a fly if you're a frog. It turned towards the fly with its blinded head, let out its tongue, and grabbed the eye. How is this possible? What happened in the rest of development? You've seen this picture, and I've told you what happened when it was an adult. What happened?
It had like neural plasticity and was able to learn how to see and connect
It wasn't just an eye on the butt of the frog, it was a functioning eye on the butt of the frog. So as development continued, this developing eye sent out neural processes, sent out axons and dendrites, which connected with axons and dendrites in the developing spinal cord of this frog. So there were physiological things that were happening that have never, at least we've never seen happen in a frog before. This particular frog is dealing with some pretty funky external surprise. How is this possible? Nobody knows, and of course I've just pre-trained you to come up with a particular answer. Nobody knows, but it turns out that animals are surprisingly malleable. We know that this is true for plants. You can do espalier, you can take a growing apple tree or a fruit tree, and you can bind the growing branches to a structure, and the tree will assume that structure. You can kind of bend the developing organism, the developing plant to your will, and it will obey. It was thought for a long time that that's not really true for animals. Turns out, at least for frogs, the answer is absolutely yes. So our biology colleagues were working on this, and Mike Levin, who directs the lab at Tufts, came across our paper from 2006, where from his perspective, we were kind of doing the same sort of thing. We were mechanically reconfiguring or injuring a machine, and it seemed to be adapting. So in about 2018, Mike sent me an email saying, why don't we get together and try and combine forces and go after some funding together to bring these two ideas together. The result was Xenobots, which we'll talk about next Tuesday. You have a quiz due tonight. You're working on your fourth and final weekly deliverable. Have a good rest of your week.